Hi guys, here is our 8.5 day 3 worksheet for class today. I'm going to have my notes handy, that way we can use those as a reference. So remember when we're factoring polynomials, if they have 4 terms in them, we are going to break them down. So we are going to factor this term here, and we are going to factor this term separately. So we're going to do 2 different factorings just like we've done previously. So when I look just at this part of this expression, a squared minus 4a, my greatest common factor is going to be a. And so when I pull an a out, I'm going to be left with a minus 4. And so now I'm going to take a look at this side. Well, this side is not written in standard form, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of rewrite it so I know what I'm looking at. So I'm going to rewrite this. This will be 6a minus 24. So when I look at that and I go to find my greatest common factor here, I'm actually going to pull out a 6, and it's a positive 6, and then I'm going to be left with a minus 4 as well. So now with the new part that we had today in class is we are looking for what we have in common between these two terms. So which factors are in common, and in this case it's the a minus 4 is what we have in common. So I'm going to have a minus 4 plus, or not plus, we're going to multiply times whatever's left over. So in this case, on the first term we have an a left over, and on the second term we have a plus 6. So I'm going to have a plus 6 and close that off. So now when I look at my next term, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to do my first term. So on this one I can factor out an x, and I'm going to be left with y minus 2. And then on this one, again, I can rearrange this here. So I'm going to make this so it's in standard form. So y minus 2. So when I do that, I can't factor anything out. So as a result of that, the only thing I could factor out here would be a 1. So I could pull a 1 out, but I'm still going to have a y minus 2. So in this situation, this is still a plus. In this situation, after I've done that, I can look and see that I have y minus 2 is my common factor here. So I'm going to have that y minus 2 pulled out, and then what's left over is x plus 1. So I have x plus 1 left over. All right, on my next problem here, if I look at the first half, 24ty minus 18t, my greatest common factor is going to be 6. And it's actually a 6t. I almost missed that part. So I'm going to have a 6t pulled out. So that leaves me with a 4y minus 3 here. And then on this one, again, I'm looking for my greatest common factor. The greatest common factor between 4 and 3 is just a 1. And there's nothing else I can pull out, so I'm going to pull a 1, and I'm still going to have 4y minus 3. And this will be a positive. So now when I do this, again, my common factor is that 4y minus 3. And then what's left over, I have a 6t and a plus 1. So I have 6t plus 1. My t is kind of, looks like a plus there. All right, and there we have our answer for that one. Now this one is just like the problems we did last week. This one's very simple. All we got to do is find that common factor. And so in this case, our greatest common factor between 8 and 12 is going to be 4. And then when we look at our variables, r squared and r, we're only going to have one r that we can pull out. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. R squared minus an r is going to just give us an r, plus 12 divided by 4 is going to give us 3, and an r taken out of r is just going to be done. So there is our final solution. I will come to you in a few minutes. Thank you. So now our next problem here, we have VP plus 12V. So the only commonality that I have here is a V. So that's going to leave me with P plus 12. And then I have, on this side, I have 8P plus 96. So my greatest common factor is going to be 8, and it's a positive 8, which leaves me still with P plus 12 inside. So now I have my common factor is P plus 12, and then my second factor is going to be that V plus 8. All right, looking at our next one. So same thing here. My greatest common factor between 2 and 8 is going to be 2. And then I can pull a u from both of them. So if I pull that off, that's going to be an n. And then 8 divided by 2 is a 4. and the u is already gone. And on this side, I can pull a 3 out. So I have a 3, and then inside is an n minus 4. And this is a positive 3. So now when I look at this, I'm going to have that n minus 4 as my common factor, and then I have that 2u and a plus 3 left over. So 2u and a plus 3. All right, and our next problem, rp minus 9r plus 9p minus 81. So when I look at this one, I need to pull out an r on our first two terms. So just looking at these two, my common factor is an r. And then I have p minus 9. And then on my second two terms, I can pull out a 9 from both. So 9, that leaves me with a p, and 81 divided by 9 is going to be a 9. So on this, I have there, my common factor is going to be p minus 9. So if I pull that out, and then left over, I have an r and a plus 9. All right, looking at our next one, I have 18r cubed t squared plus 12r squared t squared minus 6r squared t. Well, this one doesn't have 4 terms, so that makes things a little bit tricky. But believe it or not, with just 3 terms, we can do it the same way that we do it if it just has 2 terms. So all I need to do is look at my 3 coefficients and figure out what the greatest common factor is going to be. So between 18, 12, and 6, my greatest common factor is 6. And then I need to look at my r's. What's the greatest number of r's I can pull out? Well, I can pull out an r squared because that's my smallest variable on those r's. And when I look at my t's, I have a t squared, and a t. The smallest variable is going to be t to the first, or just t. So now that is my greatest common factor. So now we got to figure out what's left over. So 18 divided by 6 is going to give me a 3. R cubed minus, take out r squared, is going to leave me with just r. T squared, that's 2 t's minus 1 t is just going to give me a t. 12 divided by 6 is going to give me a 2. R squared, those disappear, and 2 t's minus 1 t is just going to give me a t. And then on my last term, 6 divided by 6 is 1, and r squared, t, everything else disappears. And that's our final answer for that one. All right, so this last one here is going to be a little bit tricky, but we should be able to get it with no problem. So when we do this, again, we're going to look at those first 2 terms. My greatest common factor between 16 and 24 is actually 8, and I can pull a g out from both terms. So I have 8g, and the only thing I'm left with here is 2h, and this is going to be a 3. So it's going to be a plus 3. Now, I need to make mental note that both of these are positive, because this is going to come into play when I do this next part. So my next one, I have this right here, okay? A negative 2h minus 3. So you may notice that it's similar to this, but these are both negative. So the common factor between 2 and 3 is just a 1. But the problem I have is that if I just pull out a 1, that means I have a negative 2h and a negative 3, and that doesn't work for this. So to make it positive so it matches this, I have to do the opposite. Well, an easy way to do the opposite, a number that we can divide these by or multiply them by to make them the opposite, is that negative 1. So now when I make this a negative 1 and I pull negative 1 out of here, negative 2 divided by negative 1 is a positive 2h, and negative 3 divided by negative 1 is a positive 3. And so when we're finished, we have this right here, 8g times 2h plus 3, and then negative 1 times 2h plus 3. So now I can pull that common factor out. So I can pull out 2h plus 3, and I'm left over with 8g minus 1. All right, there is our homework for today. Feel free to let us know in class if you have any questions or if you need us to go over anything, and we